With the holidays right around the corner, it's time for me to start planning all the festive meals and treats for the season. Frozen Washington red raspberries are the ultimate holiday shortcut to flavor, as they are picked at peak ripeness and frozen within hours to lock in their bright, sweet, tart taste. I love raspberries in my desserts, and boy does this cran raspberry pecan tart sound delicious. Grown by passionate farmers in Washington state, they're frozen with care to ensure top quality and food safety, and it always feels good to support local American farmers. And here's the best part. They're always in season. When you buy American-grown frozen raspberries, you're getting fresh off the field flavor all year long. You can find them at Costco, Kroger, Meijer, and Winco Foods. Make sure to look for product in the U.S. on the bag. Check out True Fruit Mars Hyper Chilled Chocolate-Covered Raspberries and Smucker's Raspberry Jam. Want to learn more details on where to find American frozen red raspberries plus recipe ideas and cooking tips? Head to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find participating retailers as an inspiration for every meal, plus info on how these berries go from farm to freezer with quality you can taste.
All right, fellow romantasy lovers, I've been waiting to talk about this one because it completely took my weekend. The epic romantasy finale, Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Roerick, is finally here. And if you're into anything Book Talk is raving about right now, you need this. This is the fourth and final book in the Legacy series, a dark romantasy packed with fae, dragons, shifters, vampires, witches, meddling gods, you name it. And what I love about this world is that it's not your typical medieval fantasy backdrop. Think high fantasy meets modern tech. Magic everywhere, but people are still texting, driving, dating, using computers. It gives big Crescent City vibes in the best way. And honestly, I got so pulled into the emotional roller coaster. The heroine is dealing with depression and anxiety, and the way the story handles her mental health made the stakes feel so real. Plus, the tropes. Fated mates, morally gray chaos, one bed, touch her and die. It's basically a Book Talk bingo card of everything we love. Now, if you haven't read the series yet, this is the series finale, so don't start here. But the good news, all 4 books are out now, and they make such a great gift for that friend who is constantly reading romantasy and keeping up with every online book trend. Dawn of Chaos and Fury is on sale now, available for the first time as a Kensington trade paperback and ebook. So grab your copy and dive into the chaos. You can find Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Roerick wherever books are sold in print and in ebook.
Welcome to our mini-series, The 8 Days of Dating Optimism, your pre-New Year reboot that helps you rebuild hope and confidence for finding love in the new year. Enjoy! As 2025 comes to a close, we're trying something new, the 8 Days of Dating Optimism. We know it's hard to sift through our 500 plus episodes, so we selected some of the ones that personally gave us the most hope when we were going through our own journeys. So for the first day, trust in your timing. This episode is for anyone who isn't where they thought they'd be at a certain point in their life, especially when it comes to finding love. We're chatting with Christina Bradley, author of Which Way to Happiness, to unpack why we feel so much pressure to find the one by a certain age. Listening back to this conversation, I was struck by how universal these feelings are, even for people who look like they have it all figured out. Christina's take helps reframe those milestone years not as deadlines, but as invitations to get clear on what you want, not what you think you should have by now. This episode was originally aired in August 2020, and you'll notice we talk about our relationships very differently back then. But trusting our timing helped us appreciate meeting our partners later than we once expected. Now looking back, there's no way my partner and I would be ready for each other had we met a decade earlier. We both needed that extra time to develop our sense of self and then also the relational skills that would eventually make us great partners. If you've ever felt behind, out of sync, or worried that you should have been further along in life or love, this episode is your reminder that your story is still unfolding beautifully and on your timeline. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you instantly get access to the next episode in this series. And while you're there, leaving us a 5-star review truly helps us more than you will ever know. It is the best gift you could give to us this season. Enjoy!
Do you remember when you turned 30? And if you haven't turned 30 yet, I hate you. Just kidding. I don't really hate you. I remember turning 30 was such a big deal to me. And I do feel like, I don't know if it's just a mental thing or a physical thing, but I felt like things changed overnight for me.
Oh, yeah.
There were just all of a sudden, the night after I turned 30, I thought, what am I doing with my life? It was more pronounced than my quarter life crisis. Do you remember when you turned 30, Julie?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like there's this expectation that you're like an adult.
Right. Like you have no excuses anymore. You can't be like, I'm just dumb and 20. Like you can't be, when you're 30, you're like, people have kids, people have real jobs. You're expected to perform a certain way in life and to contribute to society, which really freaked me out. Cause I remember being 30 and still being trying to be an actress in New York and a dating coach and this and that, like 6,000 different things, living in this tiny shoebox of an apartment and just feeling like I didn't have life figured out.
Yeah, I think for me too, like I feel like in my 20s, I had a lot of fun. Like there was up until I was like in my late 20s, I didn't really even desire a relationship. Like I had moved to San Francisco when I was 25. I was really just like building my own life, having fun, going out with friends, hooking up, just really no commitment. And then I think it started to like air when I was like getting towards 30, like that was starting to creep up. And then once 30 hit, like I was like, I'm ready for something. So there was definitely a shift for sure with relationships.
And that's exactly why we brought on our guest today, because she wrote a book called Which Way to Happiness, formerly called 30. Her name is Christina Bradley. So this book is a fictional book that is all about the pressures of turning 30, especially when you aren't where you imagine in life and you believe that happiness is based on one thing: meeting the one. She's now in her late 30s, currently lives in St. Leonards-on-Sea in England, and is originally from Lincolnshire, England, and spent some years in London. Where you're currently, where is St. Leonards-on-Sea? This just sounds so magical.
It really does.
What are you surrounded by?
The sea, which is just gorgeous. It's absolutely lovely, and lots of noisy seagulls.
How far is it from London?
It's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I was living in London for quite a long time. And then I actually left London and moved to Barcelona, but moved back to the UK and felt like I still really needed to be by the sea. So, now I live in St. Leonards-on-Sea, which is very charming.
It sounds lovely. It sounds like it's in some magical movie where these two characters decide to take a vacation and they're like, let's go to St. Leonards-on-Sea. Like that's what I imagine. It's like where people in movies go to.
Right. I feel like it might sound more magical than it potentially is in reality.
I was going to say, we just upped your tourist desgestion, but now you just
I know. That's brilliant. Well done.
You're like, it's not that magical. Don't worry about it. Don't come.
I'm going to Google it and I'm going to change my Zoom virtual background to that tomorrow. See if anybody recognizes. Name where I am. So Christina, you're currently in a monogamous relationship. What was your own life like before you turned 30? And why was turning 30 such a big deal?
I really think as I was listening to you introduce me and the book, I was kind of nodding along because I was in exactly the position that you were talking about. I'd been single pretty much all of my 20s and hadn't actually worried so much about that. I was very happy being single. I was enjoying myself. I wasn't really looking to settle down. And then as 30 started creeping in and I could sort of see it on the horizon, I was like, oh my God, things are getting a bit serious here. Uh-huh. And I suddenly realized like everybody around me is now in a relationship and I'm not. And this doesn't feel so much like this is about me deciding when I'm going to have a relationship. It's actually about when is this person going to turn up, and the reality that, oh my God, they're not and they haven't. And so when will they? And I suppose feeling this pressure that because that person hadn't arrived, everything was being sort of held back as a result. 30 was a real catalyst for all of these thoughts, and it was a real sort of coming of age. And I wasn't alone. The big inspiration behind 30 actually was all of the women in my life who were in a similar position, and we were all sharing these very, very similar conversations. And it felt like something of a sort of an epidemic, actually, where, you know, I probably shouldn't say that right now. That's at this current climate. But genuinely, at the time, that was how it felt. It was
Right.
just like, oh
now
my
it's
God,
all
there were so many
relative.
wonderful. Yeah, exactly. It's like happy days. But yeah, there felt like there was a really big conversation among many of my friends. We were all saying similar things, and I thought, I think there's something in this, and that ultimately was what inspired the book.
So, okay, in the book, I love the book, by the way, so definitely recommend for people
Thank
to
you
read
so
it.
much.
But the main character, Bella, she kind of, I mean, I guess like how much of this is based off you, but also she kind of has this freak out moment and basically quits her job, leaves London, goes to New York, and then sets out like on a road trip across the country to like try to like meet the one. Like, how, like, did you have any freak out moments?
Good question. No, and I think the book is sort of auto-fiction, I would say. So while it is not my story 100%, it is definitely taken from my own experiences, my own thoughts on dating, the scene that I was in at the time. But I've embellished it, for the purposes of fiction. And certainly the sort of freak out, which is, I think, a very good way of describing it, that happens at the beginning of the book to the central character. It fortunately didn't happen to me because she really does lose the plot. But we needed something really big so that people could go, oh my God, yes, I kind of get this.
Did you have any friends that freaked out like that? Like anyone
I think everybody, don't get me wrong. No. I think we were all freaking out, and it was sort of manifesting in different ways. People were going crazy and going on loads and loads of dates. People were kind of drinking a lot, just different things. And there was definitely this kind of heightened sense of panic around turning 30, which is kind of ridiculous, but it was very, very present.
Got it. So it wasn't like, let's quit my job and do anything and like make a major life change, but you had a panic. You had like a sense of loom that was coming.
Definitely, 100%, yeah.
And I do think the freak out comes in different phases. I'm just thinking back about when I turned 30. So the night I turned 30, I had a bat mitzvah because I just wanted to. So I invited like 100 of my closest friends. I thought I was so badass. I did a dance performance. I had a friend sing for me. Another friend made a cake for me. I invited all my ex-flings. I had my hair done. I had this beautiful dress. And the next morning I woke up in the arms of one of the flings. And I thought, this is not how I want to spend my 30s. The night before was fabulous, but I don't want to spend the next decade like this. So the freak out moment started that night, but it took 2 years for the final freak out, which was when I turned around 32. I went to China on a whim to visit my family, and it was supposed to be a 2-week vacation. And I ended up staying for 2 years. So if I were to write a book about it, yes, this would have happened overnight. I got rid of all my flings.
Yes, exactly.
I went, right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would go, I'm going on this trip on a whim and I'm going to stay, and I'd only have one suitcase, but it did happen over 2 years, but it was definitely a freak out.
You know what? I actually, like, as I'm asking you if this happened to you to get up and quit your job, I just realized I quit my job at 30. So, like, when I was 25, I decided to leave the East Coast and move to San Francisco. So that was kind of like my big life moment at 25. And then at 30, I quit my corporate job that I had for 8 years. And decided to like go out on my own and just do my own thing. So it wasn't like in a sense of a relationship, but it definitely was like, oh, my life isn't where I want it to be right now.
Right. Right. And I think that's the thing, that moment of sort of reflection and then recognizing there's a disconnect maybe between where you imagined you were going to be by this age and then the reality of where you are by that age. And it's kind of reconciling the difference. And I think that can cause some ripple effect.
One thing that's universal for all is suddenly we feel like we need to redo and rethink our lives. So then we have all these strategies. Like, for example, this idea of Bella accepting a challenge to go on 30 dates in 30 days before she turns 30 is, I feel like quite a few of my friends did that as well. They were like, no, I got to do something new. There needs to be something drastic in my life for drastic results to happen. Did you ever try anything like that?
Absolutely. And I originally, when I came up with this idea, was very much going to do the 30 dates in 30 days and start in New York. And I was going to write about it. And I went to visit my friend in New York, and we had a wonderful time, and we went out and we partied and we did all this great stuff. And I was like, oh God, this is never going to work. I'm going to have to fictionalize some of this and just draw on all of my experience, because 30 dates in 30 days is exhausting, and I don't think I have it in me. So.
Got it. So you didn't freak out and quit your job, but you did go to New York and tried this like 30 dates. Let me try to meet as many people.
When I had the idea, but I think what happened was I had the idea sort of for the book as well. So it was a sort of double-edged thing. It was like, oh, there's material in that to write about. But also, I really wonder whether you could committed yourself that much and were that focused about it and that sort of proactive, would you get the results you were looking for? I don't know. So that was that was a very real thought. It just didn't materialize in a very real way.
Interesting.
And what has been your own journey like, going from freak out moment, turning 30, going on all these dates, to now finding yourself in a monogamous relationship?
It's been really interesting because also the book took quite a long time to write. So I'm obviously in my late 30s now, and the whole publishing process took a long time actually. But writing the book in itself was a labor of love for many years. And I wrote the first draft when I was quite close to turning, I just turned 30. So kind of around 31, 32. And then I just sort of left it for quite a long time. And I came back to it because it just felt like something that was still relevant. It was a story that I really wanted to tell and to share. And when I came back to it, it was interesting because, you know, good few years had passed. And so I still wasn't in a relationship. I was still single, but I definitely matured. I'd kind of, that coming of age that we're talking about and turning 30 had passed. And I felt more comfortable with where I was in my life and who I was and all of those things. And it was really lovely because it meant that there were sort of two sides to this book. I was able to write it from that point of like, and freaking out and be quite kind of authentic in that space. And then return to the book from a kind of wiser place, potentially, where I was able to kind of look back on that time, you know, retrospectively and reflectively and think, okay, well, what lessons were in that? And I think some of the kind of the deeper part of the story, obviously, as we read the title, Which Way to Happiness, because yes, it's about meeting somebody, but it's also a journey of self-discovery and finding happiness. And I feel like that detail came in from returning to the book a few years later when I'd kind of was out of the storm and I was able to reflect back on that and add some perspective.
That's super interesting because I remember like it wasn't like I need to date 30 people before I'm 30, but I remember I had this like arbitrary like I need to have a boyfriend before my birthday, like every year. Like I was like, I want to have a boyfriend that will celebrate my birthday with me. That was like my big thing. Yeah. And there was like a lot of pressure because it was like getting towards like July and I'm like, when my birthday is, I'm like, wait, there's no one in the horizon, right? And I think it like took me finally like having a relationship that like ironically ended like right before my birthday that I did not actually get to like have that come to fruition. And I remember being like, why am I putting this pressure on myself? Like I'm happy right now anyways. Like I don't need necessarily to have this in place by this date and be so like rigid. And I think that's where like this freak out of 30 kind of comes in, is like there's a very big time pressure component.
I totally agree.
I'm pulling up some old scars here, so bear with me. I'm just thinking back on what I was thinking about love at the time. And I remember there was someone that I had dated a few years before I turned 30 who I was really into, but due to some immaturity issues on my part, things did not work out. And right around when I turned 30, he came back into my life and I thought, this is it. This is the moment. I'm turning 30. I'm getting back with this guy. Everything's going to be great. And we had this wonderful night out, kind of reminiscing, but also just feeling that passion again. And I remember at the end of the date, and I told him, I said, I think this is it. I think you're it. I've been waiting for this. And I invited him back to my apartment. He said, I don't think that's a good idea. But he said, I'll call you later. He never called me again. It was so heartbreaking. And then this is exactly, I just pulled up this email exactly 2 months later when I was already kind of heartbroken. I didn't understand what was going on. Not to mention the night that we met up and he refused to come back with me and told me that he would call me later. Someone tried to break into my apartment. So everything was happening at once. And so a few months later, he wrote this email and the subject line was long overdue. And he wrote, I apologize for never calling. That night after I got out of the cab and you opened up to me how you felt, I knew that I wasn't in the same place.
Oh, damn. Well, at least he wrote an email. Didn't leave
Yeah.
you completely hanging.
Yeah. And he said, sorry, I was being cowardly. I mean, it's a longer email, but that really triggered me. It lit this fire inside of me that just kept thinking like, why is it that I'm so dependent on a man in my life to bring me happiness? Why can't I find that happiness on my own? And I have to say from 30 to 35 was my own personal journey to find happiness for myself.
Totally. Same for me.
This is like bringing up so many things that maybe I've just forgotten over the years. And I'm like, I feel like, okay, so like Tinder came out when I was like 28. And I remember like 28 to like 29, just like frantically dating, like going on like all these dates. And I was like saying I wanted a serious relationship, but I wasn't really like acting in that way. And I also had a very toxic, like friends with benefits situation that people have been listening for a while have probably heard me mention before as one of the low points of my dating life. And we actually like stopped, I remember like before my 30th birthday, because it was one of those things that leading up to it, I remember all my friends being like, this guy is like wasting the best your like prime years. And now that you're turning 30, like you need to get your shit in order, right? Like there was like this like arbitrary line of 30 being like that time to really make these life changes. And I remember like for a bit, of course, then I like relapsed and ended up seeing this guy again past 30. Like I remember I was like all strong for my 30th birthday. I didn't invite him to my 30th birthday. And then like 3 months later, it was like back to where I was. Like I actually like remember finally getting the courage to like put my heart on the line, because like this had been going on for like 2 years and I had never been like, I'd always been like the cool girl, like, oh, I don't want a relationship with you. And I remember like being like, hey, can we like meet and talk about like what's going on and just like what we're both looking for, all that. And he refused to meet. He wouldn't even talk to me. It was like that bad. And I remember being like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? Right? Like that was like the trigger moment. I'm like, this person won't even meet for like a coffee. They wouldn't even meet for like a drink, right? It's like now I'm like getting all like worked up about this person. And I remember taking like a huge break from dating after that and really focusing. And this was along the same time as I quit my corporate job. So I was like trying to really like build up my own self. And I think it was like huge for me. Like I gained a lot of confidence just from doing that like inner work. It was the first time I like stopped and actually tried to do it. We mentioned in one of our past episodes with Marty Batista, I like used her workbook and all of that. And and started my own business and did all this stuff. And at that point is when I actually like met someone that was a significant relationship for me. So I think it is like taking that time to like really get yourself in a good place. Like, did you have any moments like that before you met your current boyfriend?
Yes. So I finished writing the book and I moved to Barcelona, and I actually met a guy who I fell madly in love with. The twist in the tale was that I'd already written the book, and in the book, the character meets her kind of main love interest on a plane, a guy called MJ. And this is where it all begins, and that's how the adventure starts. And so I've just moved to Barcelona, and I'm flying back to the UK to visit my sister, and there's this guy on the plane, and he sat like 3 rows behind me. And I'm actually still working on the book. Like I'm typing away because I was doing all this editing, and I was like busy. And he just comes up to me and he says, "What are you doing?"
What?
And and I thought, I had this moment. I was like, right, I'm going to step into the shoes of the person that I want to be. And I turned around and I said, I'm an author and I'm writing my book, which is like the most ridiculous comment to say anyway. And it was all very random. And then he said, "Oh, can I sit next to you?" And I said,
God.
Okay. And so I know. And so we ended up sitting next to each other for this like 2-hour flight. And he's a Brazilian, which might explain his confidence. So he came and sat next to me and we had this chat. And then we said goodbye at the other end. And that was sort of it. And we exchanged numbers. But the irony was I just left the UK to move to Barcelona, and he had just left Barcelona to move to the UK.
No way.
So yes. And to be honest, it's crazy. And to be honest, I didn't give it so much thought. And I mean, I thought the guy's very attractive and that was really nice, but I'm not really in that place anyway. It's fine. I've just moved to Barcelona. And anyway, about 3 or 4 weeks later, I get a message from him and he moved back. Oh. And then basically what happened was we had this very intense love affair. And obviously, because in my mind, he was the guy in the book. It was like I'd already written this story. He was the one. He was my one. Suddenly created this story in my mind that this all just makes so much sense. This is kind of what I've been, being single has been about. It's been sort of waiting to write the book and for all of this to happen. And now like he is here and it is him. And we had this whirlwind romance that lasted about 3 months maybe. And, you know, we dated and it moved quite quickly. And then it just ended. And he went back to Brazil. And that was that was it. It's a little bit like your story that, you know, I had got it into my mind that it was that time that right now I'm ready to meet someone. Now I'm ready to have that really serious relationship. And because of the circumstances around it and the kind of magic around it, I was like, well, clearly it's you. And actually what became very apparent throughout our sort of time together, although it was a wonderful chapter in my life, it wasn't him. He wasn't right for me. And we had a wonderful time, but I was trying to force it to be him and for him to be the one, when the reality was, it's just like, no, it's just not you. But that was crushing. When that ended, I was just like, oh my God.
Because you're like back to square one. You're like, I did all this work. I like got this to come and then it's gone again, right?
And also when you really think you found that person, your imagination, you start to run with it. And then before you know it, you've created a whole life together. So it's like, you know, doubly disappointing when it kind of falls apart, even though, you know, deep down, you know, okay, probably it was for the best. It's still difficult to reconcile.
Yeah, I think especially too when you're coming from that place of fear, right? Like especially like as you're turning 30, you're like, I need to find someone. And then even like when you do a little self-work too, and like for your case, it was like writing the book and like getting it out there. It could be therapy. It could be whatever it is. I think the next person that comes, you think like, oh, like I've solved it. Like here it is, right? And then when it's not, it's crushing. Exactly. And yeah, I think it's also like because you're not coming from it as a place like, oh, I'm whole. I've done my own self-work. I'm ready for my partner. It burns even more.
Well, it's also because it feels like the universe gave you all these signs for this person to be it. I mean, all these moments happened and it's your book coming to life. So of course you want it to last. This is also why people who meet in real life versus meeting on dating apps, they try to keep their relationships longer because they feel like they were meant to be.
Yes.
And I find that really fascinating because
about that.
Right? Because like if you meet on dating app, you're like, oh, if this lasts 6 months, then it's fine because we met on a dating app. But if you met in real life, like you met by happenstance, then you feel like, oh, the universe wanted this to work.
Yeah, so the stars aligned.
The stars aligned. And that's part of that false intimacy we feel and these stories we start creating of this future person we're with. But this person is really brought into our lives for a reason. And then they could be a passing ship.
Totally. I definitely felt that. Like after I'd done that work and then I met that significant relationship in real life, like in an unexpected way, the story was so good that I felt like it was like meant to be. And I agree with you. I think like, especially with like online dating, it just doesn't have that same like lust. And especially in your case too, like yours was like identical to the book. Like that is like so hard to kind of feel like that isn't a universal signal.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. When it comes to holiday gifting, I want to give things that people really love. Beautiful, timeless pieces they'll wear for years. That's why I'm going with Quince. From Mongolian cashmere sweaters to Italian wool coats, everything is premium quality at a price that actually makes sense. Quince truly has something for everyone too. I'm obsessed with their cashmere sweaters, so much that I own 3 of them. They are so soft and luxurious, and they never pill. It feels like they should cost over $200, but they are only $50. What a steal. My whole wardrobe at this point is pretty much Quince. The craftsmanship shows in every detail, the stitching, the fit, the drape. It's elevated, timeless, and made to wear on repeat. I have my eye on their jewelry, pajamas, and robes that are definitely making it on my gift list. I may just need to buy the stainless steel bracelet Apple Watch band for myself too. Find gifts so good you'll want to keep them with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE quince.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. quince.com/dateable.
This holiday season, comfort is knowing your home is filled with natural, sustainable comfort for a healthier environment for me and my family. As the holidays fill up with gatherings, travel, and to-do lists, Avocado Green Mattress products can transform your home into a peaceful, grounding retreat made with certified organic and sustainably sourced materials. From breathable bedding to handcrafted mattresses, Avocado is all about true comfort, so you can rest, recharge, and wake up refreshed all season long. Have peace of mind that every product is thoughtfully made with the planet in mind, so you can feel good about the comfort and quality you bring into your home. With Avocado, you can enjoy deeper rest, calmer mornings, and a healthier daily routine. And with financing options with Affirm, it's easier than ever to bring avocado to your home. Prioritize rest and recharge with Avocado's organic comfort. Head to avocadogreenmattress.com today to create your natural oasis and save big during the holiday sale. Avocado, dream of better. Imagine having a dating coach in your pocket 24/7 and a daily guide so you're never lost. That's exactly why we partnered with Studio.com to create the Finding Your Person coaching app. Now, we were blown away by their AI technology that creates a completely customizable experience based on exactly what you're going through. After 10 years of doing Dateable, we kept hearing the same thing. I wish I had support in the moment when I'm actually dealing with this stuff. So we finally created it. And honestly, we've been so excited about this launch because it brings together the tech we've always wanted, everything we've learned from talking to thousands of daters, and the core content from our most popular course, Finding Your Person, the one that sells out every single time. And inside the app, you'll follow a personalized journey designed to help you get clear on what you want, build real confidence, and break the patterns that keep tripping you up. You'll get quick audio lessons, guided reflections, and simple real-world challenges that make dating feel intentional without the pressure. And there's even AI-powered audio journaling for real-time feedback and encouragement, a coach you can talk to, and insights to identify patterns and growth. Give it a few months and you'll see the difference. Less spiraling, more clarity, and a dating approach that actually feels hopeful and grounded. It's like having a wise, honest coach at your disposal. If you're ready for support that actually sticks and transforms, go to studio.com/dateable and start your journey with the Finding Your Person coaching app today. Why do you all think that 30 is such a triggering age? What is it? Is it the media's portrayal?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think it's that. And then also, I think we talked about this before on some other episodes too. It's like in your 20s, kind of everyone's on the same page. Like we're all like getting out of college. We're trying to figure out life. We're like fumbling through relationships. And then when 30 hits, everyone starts to go down different paths. Like some people get like wildly successful. Some people are having children, marriages start, like weddings, all of that. And I think it really, there's a lot of comparison game happening. And I think social media has like amplified it as well. What do you think, Christina?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, that is a sort of huge undercurrent in the book, that actually the character is taking a detox from social media because actually it's become too present in her life, and really, as you see throughout the story, what it boils down to is just comparing her own life with everybody else's and feeling inadequate as a result. You know, and we know that social media has the potential to do that because obviously it's everybody's sort of highlight reels, and you're looking at everybody else's life and feeling like, oh my goodness, you know, as you say, every different choices. So you're looking at those and potentially, you know, thinking about what you haven't done and what you haven't got and where you haven't reached yet, if you might want to. And I think it puts a pressure on you. And I think that 30 just becomes that sort of marker where you really begin to take stock. In your 20s, it's been an even playing field. And then all of a sudden, people are taking very different paths. And you feel like you're being left behind.
Yeah. So along the same lines with what you are both saying is getting on the same path, and then you start seeing people taking different paths. I also feel like 30 is when you start to feel loss and failure. And in your 20s, things happen. You get that little promotion, you get that first job, and you feel these little wins a lot more.
Yeah.
You get that first relationship, you go on 5 dates in a week. And it's like these little wins make you really happy. But suddenly at 30, you start thinking about what's my next step in my career? What's my next step in my personal life? And also you start experiencing loss. This is when I remember a lot of my friends were losing grandparents or relatives or even their own parents. And then you start looking back, like, what did I do in my 20s to prepare myself for this loss? Nothing, right? Like I was just not mentally prepared for what was to come, which is real life is about to happen.
So do you guys think that like 25, 35, 40, etc. are as big of freakouts as 30? Because I definitely feel like all of those years are kind of like milestone years that cause you to like reevaluate what's going on. But for whatever reason, for me, I didn't feel... I mean, I guess I moved across the country when I was 25, so maybe I did a little, but like, I feel like 35, I definitely was like a looming sense, like, okay, I still haven't found my partner, but I was more secure with myself then. So it didn't feel as like crazy as 30. But at the other side, like 30th birthday was like a big deal. Like it was fun to celebrate. And I feel like I was a little more down to celebrate 35. I don't know. What do you guys think about the different kind of milestones?
It's a good question. I think they're all pronounced in some way. And I think generally for me, all birthdays make me take stock. Maybe not on the same scale as when you change decades, but I think that, every year I kind of look back and reflect on the year. And I'm 39. So my next birthday, I'll be turning 40. And I feel relatively calm about it. And I think that just comes perhaps from growing up a little bit and just accepting things and not being quite so, you know yourself better, and you're not looking around comparing yourself in the same ways that you perhaps were, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm certainly not doing that. But I also think the conversation changes. So, for me, the big thing at 30 was, being single and looking around and seeing my friends getting married and being in relationships. And now, the conversation for myself and also for many of my friends, it's not really about meeting somebody anymore, even though, I am in a relationship. It's about babies. And are you going to have children? And the time is ticking and it's running out and all of these sorts of things. So it's a different type of pressure and a different conversation for sure. One that now doesn't even need to involve being in a relationship or a man, but there's still a kind of a moment of real sort of reflection and contemplation, I think.
Christina, you and I are in the same boat. I'm 39, turning 40 next year. And I feel super calm about it. I feel like 40 will be the decade of I don't give a fuck. Anything can happen.
I agree. I am with you.
Right? I don't feel like I have any pressure on myself for how I should be at 40, but something told me when I turned 30 that I should have these things, and there were the haves and have-nots, and that really triggered my freak out moment. But also when you turn 30, this is what happened to me. Like in your 20s, you feel like there are certain milestones in life. And once you hit those milestones, your life is set. So in my 20s, I kind of felt like once you have a job and you have a family and you have kids, your life is set. There's nothing else you need to worry about. But I think at 30, I started seeing that there were so many more milestones. Like you were saying, Christina, once you have kids, then it's a pressure of once you get married, it's the pressure of having kids. Once you have kids, it's the pressure of getting your kids the right education. And then once the kids are in school, it's about your retirement. I mean, it's never fucking ending.
It just goes on and on and on.
It goes on and on. Yeah. And 30 kind of lifted that ceiling and made you see that there is no end in sight. One, I don't know.
Agree.
I don't have life figured out. And two, I have no idea how anybody else is doing life. And that's where the more freakouts happen in that decade. But I love being in my late 30s and having that freak out, calm down, and just being in my own skin.
So here's a question. Christina, when did you meet your now boyfriend?
So what was brilliant about that was the day that I got my agent for this book and finally, like, I'd done all of the editing and I'd finished it, was the day that my now boyfriend and I became official. We'd met about 2 weeks before, and he lives in the UK, which is why I've moved back to the UK. And I was living in Barcelona at the time. So when we first met, and got together, it was a very casual thing and it was not going anywhere. And then very quickly, I realized, like, my goodness, I think actually I would like this to go somewhere, and I have no idea what that would look like. And then we decided on that day, we were like, okay, well then let's just figure this out. And we've been together for 2 years now, which is really, really great. And I feel this relationship, I don't know, it's difficult to explain, I suppose, but it feels incredibly different from every other relationship I've ever been in, and everybody else I've dated. And I think the one thing about it that is quite cool is that, going back to the Brazilian chap, he made so much sense to me. Let's just call him that. He made so much sense to me, right? Like, everything about it was what I'd imagined in my mind. It's what I'd written about. He sort of fitted into this idea of the man I was going to be with, I suppose. And yet in reality, it didn't work at all. And then Neil, who I'm with now, is the exact opposite. I wasn't really looking for him, and he just arrived. And he comes with 2 children, and he was going through a divorce when I met him, and we lived in different countries. So there was nothing about it that on paper would actually seem right. And yet there was something about him that I was just like, yeah, this is right.
I love that.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. And I really feel as well that it was sort of marking the end of my I feel like I needed to be single for as long as I was before I got into this relationship.
So you feel like this is it?
Do you know what? Yes, I hope it is. But equally, I also think relationships, they're a work in progress, aren't they? And I'm really reluctant, I think, to pin my whole life on this idea that I'm going to meet somebody and then this is going to be it. Because I think it doesn't allow for us to change, for them to change, for circumstances to change. And I don't think we should just make that, we can have that intention and that hope. But I think that's something that we need to continue kind of recommitting to all the time for as long as it's working. And at the point that it doesn't, if it doesn't, then you have to kind of, reevaluate things. So I definitely am in a relationship that I'm very, very happy in and very committed to and hope will be the one. But, you've got to live it and see how it works and develops and goes.
So the reason I asked you, because I think like both of you were saying that you're about to turn 40, right? Which is a pretty big milestone of a new decade. Like I think the 25, 35, it's like the halfway mark, right? And then the new decade is kind of the big time. And I think with 30, we talked about that there's this feeling of like, I need to find the one by 30. And I was wondering, because both of you are approaching 40 and you're both in relationships that are serious, right? And I guess I was wondering, is the pressure relieved because you feel like you found that person? Or do you think the pressure is relieved because you have come to terms with that is not all that makes someone happy in life? And it sounds like, at least from your perspective, Christina, I'd love to hear yours too, Yue, that it's a combination of both. And you're kind of in the mental place though, like if this doesn't work out, I'm still going to be okay. And I don't need to be like bound to these timelines like I once felt I was.
Yeah, for me, you've sort of summarized it right there, to be honest. It is a combination of both for sure. And I think also remaining single throughout your 20s and into your 30s as well, I think it potentially influences that mindset a little bit more. I think you feel a little more comfortable in finding your own happiness and knowing that ultimately a relationship doesn't define your happiness or yourself, but it definitely is a wonderful, journey to go on with somebody and a place to be.
I sensed your hesitation, Christina, when Julie asked you if this is it. And you were like, I hope this is it. And I feel the same way. There's something very absolute about that statement. Like, this is it. And this is going to be the rest of my life. And being in my late 30s, I feel like nothing's it, but I feel like it's not about finding the one anymore. It's about finding the right person. And to me, what has really been clear to me about my current boyfriend, where I don't know if he's the one, I don't know if he's it, but I know he's the right person for me right now because of this. And this was really profound to me recently to notice. Before, I felt like the right person for me would help me not think about the previous ones that I was really caught up on. So they would take my mind off of the guy in New York or this guy that really broke my heart. But I realized the right person for me helps me find clarity on why the previous men were in my life. So I don't not think about these people, but I think about them in a way that's more clear about why they were part of my journey. And that's how I approach my love life now. It's not the one, but the right person that helps me find clarity.
That's a good point too, because like I think especially with coronavirus and everything we've been dealing with, I think the one thing we can learn and know is that nothing is forever, right? Like things that are in one place today might not be tomorrow, and it might not be that like you decide that you're not right from each other. Like there's so many things in life that can happen. So it's all about just like accepting the present, right? And I think like when you're in your 30s or like about to turn 30, you're so future focused. And I think like there's quotes of like, if you live in the past and you live in the future, like that's really just not the key to happiness. Like you need to be in the present. And I think like personally, I think there's probably some balance between the three. Like you should learn from your past, have a plan of where you want to go in the future, but be primarily focused on the present. And it sounds like from what both of you just said is it's not necessarily about like accepting something or finding the one. It's more just being present with current day and being happy for what is in your life at this moment.
Yeah, that's really beautifully put actually, and summarize it. Yeah, really fantastically. That's very much where I feel right now. And I think it is so important. I think we can get really quite obsessed with planning and future thinking. And I think, you know, it is happiness comes from staying in the present and just really appreciating that as well, and not thinking too far ahead or being too held to the past. I think that is the secret to happiness, really.
And Christina, starting with you, looking back, what advice would you give your younger self? Let's say at age 29, right around the time you're having your freak out moment. What is some advice you give to your younger self?
Take a deep breath for a start, and trust in the timing of your life, I would probably say. Because I really do think that my life has worked out so far, not necessarily how I wanted it to at the exact times that I wanted those things to happen, but it has guided me and led me in a really wonderful way. And, you know, the timing has actually been perfect. And I don't think I, would have been ready to meet my now boyfriend 5 years ago. I think we would have, our paths would have totally crossed. So yeah, I think I would just say, trust in the timing of your life.
I love that. And I think it sounds like, too, you might have dismissed a lot of things about your current partner back then that you were totally open to now.
Yeah, absolutely. And he would have still been married back then.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Wouldn't have worked,
There you go.
And I think, and as we said before, you just learn so much as you go, and relationships aren't all easy. And I think you really have to know yourself really well to be able to have a healthy relationship with somebody else. And I really needed that time to have a relationship with myself, and also to take these lessons from all the dates that I had along the way and all the relationships that I had along the way. And I think all of them have in some way, helped and informed the relationship that I'm in now.
Love that. I think the advice I would give myself to let things happen the way they should. I think if you put pressure on things, whether that's finding the person by the time you're 30, going on 30 dates in 30 days, whatever it may be, or trying to make a relationship work that just isn't, I think the best thing you can do is just kind of chill the fuck out and let things play out the way they need to be. Because I don't know about you guys, but I think what I've learned along the way is anytime I've tried to force things, or anytime I've really tried to put my pressure on myself and have these arbitrary deadlines, it just doesn't end well. It doesn't typically, I don't know, at least for me, when I have met people, they've kind of popped up very unexpectedly. They have not popped up when I've been on a mad frantic search. And I think there's something about the headspace of just being happy. And for me, again, when they have popped up, it's usually when I'm in a good place myself. That has nothing to do with relationships. Like I mentioned, one significant relationship was when I had started my business and I was really excited about what I was doing and fulfilled professionally and creatively and all of that. And then another time, most recently, was when I was just in a really good place. I was eating healthy. I was exercising a lot. I was in the best shape physically I've been in for a while. So I just felt good, right? when you feel good, you radiate that energy. And when you're coming from things in a place of when you're coming to things in a place of panic and like franticness, I don't even know if that's the right word, but anyways, when you're when you're coming from a place of panic, you just can't be that radiant self that lets people be attracted to you.
Absolutely. People feed off of each other's energy. And along the same lines, Julie, I would tell myself, surround yourself with happy people.
Yes.
I just remember being in these miserable moments and surrounding myself with people who were more miserable. And that was a really bad decision because we all made bad decisions together and we just drug each other down. I also believe in that energy is not so much even just what you radiate, but like what you surround yourself with. You have to control that in your life. Also, I would tell myself, get excited. This is just the beginning, and get excited for everything the universe is going to throw at you. Even if these things don't stick, they were thrown at you for a reason. And along the lines of what you said, Julie, is you have to go through the trenches. I just love this phrase so much because once you feel like you're in the trenches, you feel like you're at a rock bottom, just know that you will come right back up. And when you come back up, it's just going to be so much better.
Oh my God, I'm sure so many people needed to hear that right now, myself included. So thank you. I think sometimes like you just need to hear that phrase. And I think also times like, and maybe this can kind of kickstart us into takeaways, but I think so many times we put these deadlines on, these artificial deadlines. Like I remember when I was graduating college, I had this really nice family celebration and I was like moping the whole time. I was miserable because I was like, I was convinced that my life was ending. Like my great life, like I would never be happy again. Like I was entering the real world and it was only doom and gloom going forward. I remember literally crying at my graduation dinner.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that happened. I'm sure my parents were super thrilled about throwing this nice graduation dinner for that. But, but I remember after that, like my 20s, like early 20s, I was like, wow, this is actually better than college. Like I remember thinking that I'm like, I'm like on my own, I'm surviving, I'm thriving, I'm still having a good time, but I'm like, have some meaning in life, like all of this. And I think that keeps happening in life. Like for me, at least, like I feel like when I thought 30 was the end of the world, I found love at 31, right? So it's like, it just, you know, like things don't always go according to plan. And like, they're always going to be, everything builds on each other. I think like you mentioned, Christina, I think this is a really good point, is like you need to have the experiences that you do in life. Like you said about meeting the Brazilian guy, it kind of showed it was a stepping stone for your current relationship. And I think life is all about stepping stones, whether that's meeting people, falling for people that aren't right for you, or having those times when you're single and you really can see that you can take care of yourself and you don't need someone, but you just want someone to share your life with.
My only takeaway that I would add is we need to start getting rid of the when and then statements. So when this happens, then I'll feel this way. I hate that because I really do hate that with a passion, because you are relinquishing that control to uncontrollable factors in your life. That's when you lose hold of your own life. So with turning 30, turning 20, turning 32 and a half, it doesn't even matter. That's all arbitrary. Start getting rid of these arbitrary milestones in your mind that are supposedly going to make you happy, because from this collective experience of us right now, the three of us, we can tell you your happiness is not dependent on milestones.
Yeah, and I think Christina brought up a really good point too, is there's always another, I think actually everyone on this call brought this up, but like there's always another milestone, right? Like if you're really, like we hear from people that are single that get asked like, when are you going to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? And then when you're dating someone, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? When are you get, like, you know, it just like keeps going. So having that mindset, just to iterate what you just said, it's like there's never an end. So like, why put yourself through that?
Christina, any takeaways from you?
I think just reiterating what you said, actually, and just enjoying the now, just making your own rules and dancing to the beat of your own drum and staying present in the life that you're creating for yourself now. And it can all change. So it's just about, I feel, enjoying where you are and not wishing your current day away.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very lucky that I have a mom that's very much like, you got to do you, and there's not one right path for anyone. Like, I think she doesn't really give me much pressure to find someone and all of that. And I know a lot of people do have that external pressure that is eating at them. But I personally have just a lot of pressure from myself. And I think it's like, and maybe this isn't a takeaway, but more of an action item, but it's like, how can you make that mindset shift? Like, what is a way that every day you could write down one reason what you're happy for today, current day, and staying present. And also just really getting clear that like everything does build on each other and there is no set plan. And I don't know what the solution is because it's easier said than done. But I think just like carving out some of that time for self-reflection is a really important step. So you're not just talking the talk, but you actually believe that we are all on our own timelines, and arbitrary numbers really don't matter.
Not at all.
Don't matter.
Any last thoughts from anyone?
I think this was a really good discussion.
Thanks for being therapist to us, Christina, because I felt like you opened up a can of worms at the very beginning where Julie and I kind of just went with it. We're like, yes.
Oh my God, I'm like, I've suppressed a lot of stuff that I forgot about.
I dug up an email from 2011, so yep. We went there. If people want to get a hold of your book, where can they do that?
You can buy it on Amazon with a new title, Which Way to Happiness, or 30. Either one will pop up. That's probably the best place. And it's co.uk in my country and .com in yours.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks, Christina. Hope you're enjoying your days at St. Leonard's on Sea. I just want to say that. Makes me feel fancy.
Magic.
We're gonna. What's the quarantine's lifted? The new hotspot is.
Yeah.
I know. Everyone will come flooding. There'll be all these people from the US flooding.
Like, we heard about it on Dateable.
It better not disappoint. And I hope we get commission from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
We usually wrap up.
Stay dateable.